Okay, so right now it's time for grammar, but since we don't have 2 days this week of grammar, we're not going to start a new concept yet. What we are going to go ahead and start is our next hallway writing assignment. And this assignment is a Halloween assignment. So it'll be finished, it'll be in the hall for Halloween. It'll be part of our decoration. So what I want you to do first is I want you to get out your reading vocab and open to a new page. Because even though this is our grammar lesson where we learn how to write, what I'm going to tell you about first, before we go in and assign the topics, is we're going to talk about some things that you will usually see in scary stories that you can use when you are writing. So go ahead and get out your reading vocab and open to the first clean page. And the title of these notes, they're not super long, but you have a little bit, is Halloween. I don't do this right now. Halloween narratives. A narrative is a story from your point of view. October. Okay. So you need Halloween narratives at the top. Yes, Smith. Can you not see it?
Yes. Can you please spell narratives?
Narratives is spelled Narratives. Zari or Carla, do you need me to spell it again, or did you get it?
I need you to spell it again, but I need to go get my notebook.
Okay, go quickly. Carla, do you need me to spell it again? Narratives is Narratives. So you should have Halloween narratives, which means Halloween stories from your point of view. Narrative has the base word. What is the base word in narrative? Aaron? Narrator. Narrator. The narrator is who is telling a story. When you're reading a story, the narrator is the person whose point of view it's from. So a Halloween narrative, when you write a narrative, it's usually from your point of view. Okay. So I'll spell it one more time, and we're going to get into the lesson. Sorry, it's narrative is Narratives. So before we begin, let's talk about a few things that we usually see in scary stories. And you can definitely use these when you're writing your scary story. Now you are going to have a prompt, so it won't be, you're going to have something to write about, but these are some things that you can use. The first thing that you can use, so put a a bullet point on the pink line. And the first, what are these called? The first thing that authors will use when they are trying to write a scary story is foreshadowing. 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 And what foreshadowing is, it's when an author hints at something that will happen later. So you may think of that when you watch scary movies or scary TV shows or read scary stories. Usually somewhere towards the beginning, the author's going to give you a hint about what may happen later. That's called foreshadowing. So an author hints at something that will happen later in the story. Yes?
And a good thing to do writing a scary story, make sure you put like exclamation points and question marks.
Which kind of leads us into our next thing that we will see in scary stories.
You want that to be a bullet point?
Yes, this is a new bullet point. Descriptive language. Now this is good in all kinds of stories, but especially scary stories, because when you write a scary story, how do you want the person reading it to feel? When you write a scary story, how do you want the person reading it to feel? Kingston? Scared. Come on. Scared. So we have to use descriptive language, because if we just say there was a monster, he was green, he was scary, does that really seem so scary? No. So descriptive language uses good adjectives. Remember, adjectives are describing words. They describe nouns. Using good adjectives that tell about all the senses. So descriptive language uses good adjectives that tell about all the senses. So not just what you're seeing, but what you're hearing and smelling and feeling, maybe even tasting sometimes. So what are the five senses? What's one? Tell me one sense. One of the five senses, not sentences. Kingston. You guys learned this in like kindergarten or preschool. Huh? Scent or smell. So, we're going over a little, so we have a dash, because this goes with descriptive language, it's not new. So we have smell. So when you're using descriptive language and you want to write about smell, include scents. So what is the smell? Include scents. Oops. And how strong they are. So not only what does it smell like, but is the smell really strong? Is it weak? Use descriptive adjectives to tell how strong or how weak the smell is. Some examples of some good adjectives for smell is flowery, foul. I want one more. Who has a good adjective for smell? Kingston? Foul means really, really bad. Do you have another one, Kingston? Sorry. Who can think of a better word than just stinky? Carla?
Stunk.
Stinky, stunk is a verb. That's a past tense verb. Stinky would be the adjective version, but who can think of a better word than stinky? Because stinky is almost kind of a funny word. Is that really that scary? Does stinky make you feel scared, or does it make you think, I might laugh at this? Victoria? Rotten. That'd be a good one. And words that tell how strong they are. Faint means you can just barely smell it, but it is there. Overwhelming would be it is so bad or it is so strong that you feel like maybe you can't breathe. Okay, is everybody ready with finished with smell? Because then we're going to move on. Okay, quickly finish so we can move on to the next one. Because I can't fit them all. So when you're finished with smell, put your pencil down. So Zari, tilt your camera down so I can see that you're finished. So I can see what you have in front of you. Just as a good rule, just always, Zari, just like this is right now, that's how your camera should always be. Okay? What's another one of the 5 senses? Michaela? Touch. Okay? Can I erase? Well, I want to erase this because I'm going to leave this. Okay, quickly, come on. Okay, the next sense goes underneath the example for smell. And now we have touch. That includes textures, which means what does it actually feel like, and temperature. Is it hot? Oops. Added extra T. Is it hot? Is it cool? Is it warm? Is it burning? Is it freezing? So for example, for textures, we could include silky, damp. Who can think of another good adjective for the way something would feel, the texture of something? Carla?
Harden.
What did you say, Carla?
Harden.
Harden
Like
is a verb. That means to get hard. But
No.
hard would be an adjective if something is hard. But let's think of a more descriptive one. Ethan? Soggy. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Soggy. So you want to think of good adjectives, not just hard or soft, but things like silky or damp or soggy or slimy or just pillowy soft or something like that. And then you want to talk about temperature. So things like freezing, or what's a better word for warm? Stuffy. You know, like if it's warm in a room and it feels like there's not enough air, that would be stuffy. So those are good words for textures and temperature. Okay, quickly write that. What's another sense? We'll do that one next. What's another of the senses? We have smell and touch. Zari.
Sight.
Sight. So we'll do that one next. So go ahead and finish writing about touch. And then put your pencil down when you're finished so that I know you're ready for the next one. Pencil or pen. Yes, Victoria. If this is an adjective for touch, we're past that. So we're going to move on. No, tell me, is it an adjective for touch, yes or no? Is it about touch, yes or no? Then we'll save it for later. Okay, so next, we're going to talk about sight, which has to do with what you see. So sight includes color, size, and shape. So when you're using descriptive adjectives for sight, you would include color, size, and shape. So for example, do green. let's use a more a more interesting one, like greenish brown. It's slightly more interesting. For size, you could use something like immense, which means so huge, even bigger than huge. Immense is massive. Or for shape, you could use bulbous, which means kind of round. So these are good adjectives that you can use. This would be a good time to use your dictionary. Everybody at school has a children's dictionary. Does everybody at home have a good dictionary that they can use? Smith?
I have a dictionary on the computer that tells me the definition.
Okay, you can use that for now, but I want you to, because a dictionary is good for learning stamina. Hold on, we're not looking at the dictionaries right now. But once we get started, then you can start looking at the dictionary. A dictionary is good for stamina, so that you're, you're working on having to look for things. And also it's good because there's it's a smaller list in the children's dictionary, so you don't have to look over and over and over. Yes, Smith?
I will be able to read my dictionary soon.
Okay, good.
Because my eye doctor appointment is tomorrow.
Perfect. Good. So these are things. So sight includes color, size, and shape. Your dictionary is a good place to look because the dictionary also tells you what part of speech it is. If you find a word that you're like, ooh, that might be good, but it's a verb. Will it work for descriptive language? No. Because descriptive language is about adjectives, describing words. Okay, so we talked about smell, touch, and sight. What's another of the 5 senses? Cullen?
Here.
Hearing. Sound. So our next one is sound. Descriptive language for sound includes the type of sound. So what is the actual sound? And volume. So how loud or quiet is the sound? Is that type of sound? So for example, a banging noise or a tinkling noise. Can anybody think of another good adjective for sound, a type of sound? Zari?
Creeping noise.
Creeping. Ooh, I like that. Creeping. You hear some very kind of quiet, slow footsteps is what I would say a creeping noise would be. And now, okay, just one. Otherwise, we could be here all day. But this is good that you guys are thinking of words because it means when you get to your stories, they're going to be very descriptive. Also, volume is included. So, is it at a whisper? Is it a whispering sound? It's very quiet. Or is it ear splitting? It's so loud. Ear splitting means it feels like your eardrums are going to burst. It is so loud. Yes, Kingston, quickly. More like ear splitting or maybe ear shattering. But it means it's so loud it feels like your eardrums are about to burst. Are you going to find it? So you see, we can think of good words other than just quiet or loud or big or hard or soft or stinky. Yes, Victoria, quickly. Screeching, that's a good one. Screeching noise, that is a very good one. Those are good types of noise. Yes, Carla?
I was going to say that one of them was going to be dinging.
Dinging, that would be a good one. Hey, Carla or Zari, if I brought a children's dictionary down to the office Do you think at some point somebody could come pick it up? It doesn't have to be this week. But is anybody coming in town or nearby soon, like during a school day, that you could come and pick it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Zari, ask your mom and then let me know.
Sure, my dad might be able to do that.
Okay, yeah, let me know and I can go ahead and put it, because I have two. You have to give
Sure,
them
my
back to me.
dad might be able to do that.
Okay, you have to give them back to me. I'm going to put my name in it. But I'll put them down in the office for you to use. And Smith, since you have one, and I only have 2 left, so that's kind of perfect. Yes, Zadie, quickly.
And kind of words like loud don't really describe it, so you're kind of like, what kind of sound?
Exactly, because loud just means, okay, loud. Well, how loud? Ear splitting? Or just kind of like, what's a good word for kind of loud but not really loud? Ear splitting would be it's so loud it feels like it's going to hurt your ears. Loud would mean, I don't know, I'd have to think. I'd have to look in my dictionary to think of a better word for loud. Or we do have thesauruses, and we have enough that each person can have one. Thesauruses have, so maybe I'll get one of those that you guys can pick up too. Smith, hold on a second. Unless it's an emergency, just hold on. Maybe I'll put one of those with it too, but they do have to come back to me. The thesauruses are definitely bigger because they are written for like high schoolers, college kids, adults. But you can still use them. You look up the word in a thesaurus, you look up the word the same way you would in a dictionary, but instead of having a definition, it has synonyms. So words that mean the same thing. So I am going to go ahead and pass those out to you guys, and then I'll put them with the dictionary. So Smith, do you think somebody could come by and get a thesaurus? Okay. I'll put them in the office this afternoon, and then anytime within the next week, like tomorrow, starting tomorrow up until through next week. If somebody wants, during school, if somebody wants to come pick it up, it'll be ready for you. Doesn't have to be tomorrow though, because I know that's short notice.
Yeah.
But it
that's
can be
fine.
like next week or something like that. If not, let me know and we'll figure something out. Okay? Yes. Thesaurus. There is, but it's not as it doesn't have as many words as the actual thesaurus would have. And I don't know if everyone has a thesaurus in their dictionary, because you have a different version. It has the same words, but okay. Yes, Smith.
Where did you get the dictionaries everyone else?
They were already here, but if you just look up like children's dictionary, like they were already here. I found them in a closet a few years ago upstairs. But it's just, if you just look up children's dictionary, it'll be pretty much the same version. If you wanted to get your own children's dictionary.
Yeah, I think I might have to, because I don't know if I will ever be able to read the one my grandparents
I
gave
think
me.
I might have 3. So I'll let you know, unless you wanted one to keep. I might have 3 though, because I'm looking back and I think I do see 3. Okay, we have to move on if we want to finish and pick our your topics. Okay, so let's see, that's sound. So now I think we have 4. What's the last one? We have smell, sight, touch, and sound. What's the last one? Carla?
Taste.
Taste. Very good. Now you might be like, why would I need taste in a scary story? Well, that might be the scariest one of all. If you're in a scary story and you have to eat something, people are really going to have a reaction to that. So taste includes the flavor. So what flavors is it? And the strength of that flavor. Can you just barely taste it? Or is it really, really strong? So, for example, descriptive words for taste could be tart, spicy. Can somebody think of another one? Victoria? Slimy and soft would be more the feel. Even if you're tasting, it's still how it feels. Sour. Good. Sour. Okay, let's move on. And then also the strength. So, is it very weak? You can barely taste it. Or is it, what's a good word for the strength of a taste? You could use some of these, like for how strong a sound, a flavor, or a smell is. You can use them for all three. Like you can do a faint taste or an overwhelming taste. You can't really use ear splitting for taste because that's about
A soft taste?
a soft. If the food is soft, that would be more for the touch, how it feels. But also, that's not a super interesting word. So you want to use something more like pillowy or fluffy or
Minty?
minty. That would be a good one. Okay, so when you're using descriptive language for taste, you include what flavor it is and how strong it is. Is it weak? Is it faint? Is it overwhelming? Is it stomach churning? Ooh, that's a good one. If something really tastes bad, you can describe how strong the bad taste is by calling it stomach churning. What do you think stomach churning means? Victoria?
It makes your tummy feel weird and gross.
Like you're about to do what?
Throw up.
Good. Stomach churning. Think about it. If your stomach feels like it's turning and like everything's kind of swishing and moving around in there, what do you think's about to happen? You might be about to throw up. Well, that might be a good one for a scary story. Okay, you can also use that for smell because sometimes smells can be so bad that they make your stomach churn. They make their stomach churning. They make you feel like you're going to throw up. Okay, so we have to move on because we still have to pick our topics and then you can get started. So, another thing, I'm not going to write, so that's all we have for descriptive language. So those are good adjectives, not just boring ones like hard or soft or loud or quiet, but more descriptive so that people know exactly what you're talking about. And then foreshadowing, which is where you hint at something that's going to happen later. Another good thing when you're writing scary stories are good story starters. Story starters kind of let the reader know where this is going. So things like, one dark stormy night, I walked down the street and I saw, and then everybody knows, oh, dark and stormy night, this is probably going to be kind of creepy. Then I saw, oh, so you saw something, what is it? Or something like, one Halloween night, I was trick-or-treating with my brother. We knocked on old Mr. Payne's door and something happened.
We're gone.
Hold on. Another good story starter. You don't have to use these. You can come up with your own, or you can use these as an example. Just make sure that once you get your topic, it goes with your topic. I was riding my skateboard home from school when I took a shortcut through the cemetery. So now we know something's going to happen in a cemetery. Hold on. Just as the moon was coming up, I went around the dark corner by the school. There, in the shadows, I saw... What did you see? In the daytime, Mrs. Scratch's basement didn't look like anything much. But that night, something happened. So those are good. Story starters are a good way to get your reader hooked. Because if you read something like that, like what I just said out loud, are you going to want to keep reading to find out what happened? Probably, unless you really don't like scary stories, but you don't have a choice. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the prompts. There are 10 prompts. Only one person can use each one. I'm going to pick sticks, which means it's the luck of the draw. That means whoever's last, unfortunately, gets whatever's left. But that's just how it works. We do this every year. Yes?
Am I in the cup?
Mm-hmm. Everybody's in the cup. Yeah, I called you earlier. You got to help with the guide practice, I think. Okay. Okay, the first prompt. What if one day you found a haunted house? Would you go inside? If you did, what things would you see? In a paragraph, now you're probably going to be writing more than a paragraph. It just says a paragraph. Describe what your experience inside would be. So this is where you talk about the haunted house. If your story is about going to a haunted house, that's fine. You can write a narrative, a story about going to a haunted house. Just make sure you answer all these questions. So the first topic is the haunted house. You don't have to write this as like a paper about going to a haunted house. You can write this as a story. Like you can come up with characters. The main character doesn't have to be you. You can come up with a character, but just make sure your story answers these questions. No questions right now. Just listen. Okay, the next one is, it says, Halloween is around the corner. What are you going to be? Write a brief paragraph. Well, you're going to write more than a paragraph. On your Halloween costume this year. Write down why you chose this costume as well. Now, all of these you can turn into a story. Now, these just sound like you're talking about, well, I'm going to be this, and it looks like this, and I want to do it because this. You can turn it into a story if you want to write a story. So, the second prompt is your Halloween costume. You need to make sure to be descriptive. Okay, next. Victoria, can you please take over? The next prompt. Imagine you are a witch and you are making a special brew. Write down the magic recipe. Also, write down what your brew does. Use your imagination. So the third prompt is the witch's brew. What's in it? What does it do? You can come up with a whole story about a witch. Just make sure that these questions are answered. Next. Okay, next. Write a scary story. So this is one where you don't really have a prompt. You get to write about whatever you want. Write a scary story. Use your imagination to write the scariest story you can. Choose a spooky environment and a few monsters or a ghost perhaps. Be as descriptive as possible. So this is the choice if you don't like any of the other prompts. You just want to write a scary story. Remember, only 2 people can choose. So number 4 is just scary story because you get to write whatever you want. Next. Okay, next one. It says write a brief paragraph, but yours is going to be longer than a paragraph. Write a brief paragraph describing your best Halloween ever. Write down what candy you got or what your costume was. Make sure you write why it was the best Halloween ever. Be as descriptive as possible. So choice number 5 is the best Halloween. Now I know I said you needed to fill this whole thing. Do not make your handwriting as big as possible to fill it in. I know what your handwriting looks like, and if you all of a sudden have massive handwriting and you end here, well, you're going to do it again. So, what that means is when you're writing in your writer's workshop, it needs to take up about a space in your about a whole page in your writer's workshop notebook. Okay, next. The next one is zombie invasion. What if one day you were the only survivor of a zombie invasion? How were you able to survive? What would you do to find a solution to the invasion? Use your imagination. It says write a paragraph, but you're going to write more than that. So number 6 is zombie invasion. Okay, the next one, boo. What is the scariest thing you have ever seen? Why was it scary? Would you still be scared if you saw it again? Write a brief paragraph, well, you're going to fill in a whole page, telling us about your scary moment. So number 7 is boo. Scariest moment. Okay, next. I'm running out of space on the board. Okay, the next one. What if you could be a ghost? Where would you go? Would you want to scare people or be a friendly ghost? Write a descriptive paragraph, you're going to write a whole page, about your unique experience. don't forget to use your imagination. So number 8 is we'll call it ghost experience. Okay, next. The next prompt, what if you found some footprints inside your house? Would you follow them or would you be too scared to? Write a paragraph, you're going to write a page, so anytime it says paragraph, put paragraph or change paragraph to page in your mind. Write a paragraph about the situation and don't forget to tell us what you found. So even if you say, I'd be too scared to follow it, you still have to say, what if you did follow it? So number 9 is the footsteps. Last one. What if the monster under the bed was just misunderstood? Write a story about how he got there and what a typical day is like for him. Is he lonely? Bored? What does he eat? And what does he do in his spare time? So the last prompt is monster under the bed. Now I know this looks shorter, but remember you're filling in one whole page in your Writer's Workshop notebook. So right now what I want everybody to do is get out your Writer's Workshop notebook. We're done. Okay, we have 15 minutes, so what I want you to do is for the next 2 minutes on the first page of your Writer's Workshop notebook, second page of your Writer's Workshop notebook, you can use the backs. I want you to write down your top 2 choices. Out of these 10, on the first clean page, that means you can use the back. This is part of your pre-writing. Write down your top 2 choices. We have haunted house, so go ahead and do that because you have 2 minutes. Haunted house, Halloween costume, witch's brew. Oops, I spelled witch's brew wrong. There's no E. Witch's brew, scary story, best Halloween, zombie invasion, scariest moment, ghost experience, footsteps, monster under the bed. Actually choose your top 3 choices. Top 3 choices. Yes, please.
So we have to write them.
Write your top 3 choices. Out of these 10, what are your top 3 choices?